guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Madison Campbell. I am entering my first full year of teaching in August, and I am here to tell you about my first half year of teaching story. Channel, guys. I am so excited to sit down and get to tell the full teaching story of my first half year of teaching. So I have mentioned bits and pieces of it and I've told stories about it, but I am here to give the full scoop because it was the hardest half of a year of my life. So first off, how I got my job. So I got my job right out of college. I graduated in December. I had an interview for a position 2 days before my graduation. I didn't end up getting that position, but the principal I interviewed with loved me and she recommended me to another principal who was hiring for a second grade position. I interviewed with her a couple days later and got the job. So I started the first week of January. Now, I did not know much about this school. I moved to a new city and I was not familiar with the district or any schools in the district. So I really only had to go off of the website that I looked on and people that I met along the way, what they had to say about the school. So without saying any names in this video, names of the school, or really giving away much information, I want to keep it as respectful as possible. I just want to tell my story in case it can help anybody out there who's going into their first full year or half year of teaching. I interviewed at this job. The only thing that I knew was that the teacher who had been there August through December had just up and left. I had no idea why she left. The only thing the principals kind of told me was that she didn't fit in with the school or she wasn't a good fit for the class. And so I didn't question it. I just said, okay, everybody has their own path, and we went on with the interview. So my interview with them was actually a demo lesson. So a demo lesson is where you teach a lesson with the kids in the classroom in front of the interview panel. In my case, that was a principal, an assistant principal, and an admin assistant. So I went in completely blind. I had no idea what the kids were like or the class was like or anything like that. I just came out of teaching 5th grade, student teaching in 5th grade, and it was the best experience, no behaviors at all, greatest kids, the greatest school. So I felt like I was really prepared, right? I felt like I had a lesson that I knew I had really enjoyed teaching before, and I knew that the kids would enjoy and the kids would be super engaged. So I went in, I set up for my lesson, and then I heard the kids coming down the hallway ready to come into my class. And I think it was a sub that was walking them down the hall. Well, all I heard was screaming, yelling, a lot of things you shouldn't hear from a second grader, and I heard the sub screaming and yelling at them. I was immediately nervous, I guess is a good word. I was pretty nervous and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? I didn't know really anything about this class. So the class walks in and immediately they see me and they're interested in me, and I think that they kind of calm down because they see that there's a new person in the class. So long story short, the demo lesson went okay. However, I definitely had my hands full and the behaviors were so bad to the point where I couldn't get halfway through the lesson without the principal having to intervene. So, why did you take this job, you may ask? Well, I wanted a job, clear as that. I wanted my own classroom. It was my dream job. I knew I would have my own classroom. I loved 2nd grade, and it was in the city that I just moved to. I was just so excited. I knew I just had to look past any of the negatives that I saw in the interview. Maybe a mistake. So I ended up getting a job offer almost on the spot that day after I did the demo lesson, and I accepted it and I started just 3 days later. So I had 2 days to set up my classroom. Setting up my classroom was the greatest experience. I mean, any first year teachers know it's just so surreal having your own classroom for the first time and getting to set up, and it's just so exciting. I couldn't sleep at night because I was so excited to get in there and set up. I mean, I still get that giddy. And so I started off just super excited and I think a little naive as to what was ahead of me. On Monday, I started, and you know, it was still such a great first day. I really was excited to get in there and see the kids, and the kids were so excited to see me, and they were excited that they finally had a teacher, because unfortunately the teacher that left in December, so they had a sub for a couple weeks before I started. So they were super excited to actually have a class that was decorated and to have books and like a lot of books. They really did not have any books before or much decoration at all, so I was so happy that I could give that to them. Now this story, the fault is not on the kids at all. When I talk about their behaviors, it is not their fault. If anything, I feel for them, and they are the reason why I stayed in this classroom. So my first day was interesting, to say the least. I started off a little naive, a little just happy-go-lucky first year teacher, thinking of all the cute lesson plan ideas I had and how much fun we could have, and just all the get to know you activities we could do. And I didn't know what a train wreck of a classroom I was walking into. So I want to preface saying this teacher that was in the classroom before me apparently had not set up any classroom management, any behavior management systems at all. And so I would tell my kids, you guys looked like a bunch of wild monkeys when I walked in here, because it really was like that. They didn't even know what it meant to stay in their seat. They didn't know what it meant to line up straight, or to just have an indoor level voice. It was as if anything that they had previously learned in kindergarten, first grade had just gone out the window, because they had no structure at all the past 5 months. This was terrifying to walk into. It was like my worst nightmare, and I knew I couldn't give up on them because it wasn't their fault. It was not their fault that their teacher left and that their teacher didn't implement any structure in the classroom. And I know that kids ultimately want structure and routine at the end of the day, so I really wanted to give that to them. I took everything I knew from undergrad and student teaching as far as behavior and classroom management, and I threw it all at them. And I mean, we went hard, because I realized right away that we had to start behavior boot camp, is what I called it, because there would be no teaching at all in that classroom until we got some of the behaviors under control. I'm gonna keep it PG for you guys, but I just want to make it clear that these behaviors were unlike anything I'd seen before, and something I had never expected to see in second grade. So I'll just keep it at that if you ask me why we had to go into a behavior boot camp. So this behavior boot camp included lining up, practicing sitting at our seats quietly, practicing coming to the carpet quietly, sitting on the carpet with your hands in your lap, not touching or talking to others, and facing the teacher, and of course just listening in general. So we practiced all day, every day, and it was the toughest few months of my life. I'm not going to lie, I had a mental breakdown probably only a couple weeks in, just because it was so hard. And you know, you feel like you're working so hard, and when you don't see results right away, it can be super discouraging. And whenever you're giving it your all and you feel like they don't care and you feel like they're just not listening, it's just really hard. And I'm so lucky I had the greatest second grade team to help me and guide me, and they knew what I was walking into. When I first started, you know, I sat down with them and they kind of let me know the situation. And so that was really great, because the whole school knew what classroom I was walking into, and so I had a lot of support. Oh, there was a lot of trial and error. I used all behavior management techniques I knew of. I did research. I bought some professional development books all about behavior and classroom management, and I learned a lot. There are behavior management techniques I had never even heard of that I read about and did research on, and that ended up working really well for this classroom. And the thing is, every classroom is different, every child is different, and not every classroom management technique will work with each student. And so I had individual classroom management techniques and reward systems, as well as whole group reward systems. And some kids incentives won't work, and sometimes only negative consequences will work for them. So yes, lots of trial and error. Some things I realized didn't work right away. I was like, nope, and I would check it off. That didn't work, and that's okay. I try to be easy on myself. I knew I wasn't just going to try one thing and it would just automatically work. I knew that I was going to have to try really hard and try a bunch of different techniques, and ultimately it did end up paying off. I saw some of my toughest students make a complete 180, and they just, it makes me emotional to think about it. They completely turned themselves around in this classroom from the known troublemaker to they were earning awards daily for their good behavior and listening skills. I had the most heartwarming experience in our school. We had monthly awards, and we would have an assembly where we would gather all the grade levels, and each teacher from each grade level would award one student in their classroom for exceptional behavior. And it was the greatest assembly to be a part of, just for rewarding and positively enforcing that good behavior, because we were a PBIS school. So one of my students, she had been known notoriously for her behavior problems from kindergarten through second grade. Her and I just had a super special bond from the very beginning, and we just clicked super fast. And I saw her start transforming within the first couple weeks that I got there. By the second month I was there, I was able to award her her first monthly award. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The whole gym was applauding her. Some of her behavioral support helpers in the past were crying. I was on the verge of tears. Her mom was there, and it was just super special to get to award her, since she had never gotten an award before. That was one super special, heartwarming moment of the year, and I will say, as many hard moments, there were heartwarming moments and moments that made it all worth it in the end. So fast forward 3 months in, this was right before COVID hit, and we had been making such great progress. The principal had said it was like night and day in this classroom from before I got in there, and that was solely just due to the kids having structure and routine. It was just due to them knowing how to walk quietly in the hallway and knowing how to come into the classroom and get seated, and just the little things that end up being the biggest things to keep a well-running classroom. I learned a whole lot about behavior management and classroom management and positively reinforcing good behavior, and I would love to share on a video more about that. I would love to make a video solely all about classroom management. So if you guys have any classroom management questions, leave them down below, or you can DM me on my Instagram, which I will leave down below as well. In March of 2020 was when COVID-19 really hit, and that is when our school decided to close down. So it's safe to say it was definitely the craziest first year anybody could ever have, because after all of that, I ended up having to go and teach online. So that had its own obstacles, I guess you could say, especially with this class. I taught at a Title I school, and a lot of my students didn't have access to technology, and so that was definitely hard to keep in touch with the students and their families. So the last couple months of the year was mainly just me trying to keep that connection with each one of my students and their families, and just stay up to date with them every day and keep in constant communication with them. And by the end of the year, I let them know how grateful I was for them, and how grateful I was that they let me come into their classroom and finish off the year with them. And I could tell that they were equally as grateful for me. So at the end of the year, all of those troubles seemed so far behind. I almost forgot about them completely, because I was overwhelmed with gratitude for the experience and the opportunity to get to meet those kids and be their teacher. That is pretty much what my first year of teaching was like. And it started off like a roller coaster of emotions, and it ended the year in a roller coaster of emotions. And I am so thankful for the opportunity, though it had its downs. I questioned if I wanted to continue teaching more times than I would like to admit. And you know, I'm not embarrassed to say that because I made it out on the other side. I didn't quit. I kept going and I did it for the kids. And I know that I'm meant to be a teacher because I came out so much stronger and so much more excited to have my own classroom next year. And though there were moments of burnout, ultimately I am still so excited to continue teaching. I'm so excited to have my own classroom from the beginning of the year and experience all those firsts with my classroom. I'm so excited to meet all my kiddos in August. I cannot wait to see their little faces and get to know each and every one of them. So yeah, that is my first year teaching story. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are going into your first year teaching, just know that it's okay not to know everything. You're going to go in and learn so much. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. There's going to be a lot of questions that you're going to have to ask those around you. Don't be afraid to lean on your team and ask them questions, ask them for help and advice. That's what they're there for. And don't be afraid to fail because you'll learn so much from it. And just be there for your kids. At the end of the day, that's the most important part of your job, is to just be there for your kids, be their biggest fan and their biggest support system, and they'll love you. And I think that's really the most important thing you can do as a teacher. So thank you so much for watching. I am so grateful for all of you. Thank you for all the support on this new YouTube channel of mine. I'm so excited. I have so many more videos planned for you guys. Go ahead and drop in the comments below any videos that you guys would like to see. I have some more classroom prep videos coming. I definitely am planning on filming me going into my classroom and setting up and organizing and decorating my classroom and all that fun stuff. So don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss those videos. Give this video a thumbs up so that I know you liked it and you want to see more story videos like this one. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.